All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will call the May meeting to order and welcome all of you that are here in person and those of you that are watching online. We are glad that you have joined us tonight. You will see that some of us are not wearing a mask tonight, given the governor's relaxing of restrictions. We've just made it a matter around the dais of personal preference. You can wear them if you want to. Most of us on the dais have been vaccinated. And so it's a matter of personal preference at this point. So whatever you're comfortable with doing, we're fine with. Our first order of business, our second order actually, is the invocation. And we have Reverend Dr. Peter Smith from the Farmville Presbyterian Church. And I just figured out who you were when you took the mask off. And if you don't mind coming to the podium, and if you will give the invocation, after which Vice Mayor Reed will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Smith? By the way, welcome to the Farmville community.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be here. And I'm pleased to say that over the last year, I've been here in a temporary faculty, but now I'm actually the regular installed pastor of the church, so I'll be around. You might even see me again.
Good.
How about
You're
that?
welcome.
Yeah, I thought I might try out my sermon for Sunday on you, but I think I'll spare you that one.
Provided we can take up the collection and keep it for the town coffers.
That is an excellent idea. I had not thought of that. But no, as we share in this time of invocation, I certainly would encourage us all to remember the reason we're here, which really is community. I think that is at the heart of the gospel, community both on earth and in heaven. And as we prepare our hearts to appreciate this gift that is given to us in the grace of God, join with me in prayer. Thank you, Almighty God, for this blessed evening, this time to gather together in this council, to share in this work, to witness your hand and your heart working between us for something better, for something good, for something worth, for something enduring. We pray that you will bless the hearts, the minds, and the work that is before us, that you will guide these persons representing this community, and that you will draw our hearts into greater community, and that together we will reflect what you intend us to be, one people sharing one life together, brothers and sisters, in Christ Jesus our Lord, in whose name we pray. Amen.
Vice Mayor Reed.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, gentlemen. Clerk, if you'd kindly call the roll.
Mrs. Amos?
Here.
Mr. Cole?
Here.
Mr. Dwyer?
Here.
Mr. Hunter? Mr. Parrott?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Mr. Vincent?
Here.
Thank you, sir. The next order of business is an award presentation, and we have Don Rismeyer with Morton, Thomas, and Associates, who is going to do a presentation. Welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. Wanted to first thank the mayor and council for giving me a few minutes to celebrate a success we had on a project with the town last year. And it's for the Buffalo Creek Pedestrian Bridge and Trail Project. The project was recognized by the Virginia Transportation Construction Alliance last fall with an honorable mention in the less than $10 million category of transportation improvement projects that were completed statewide. The council packet had the entire application. I'm sure it's very wordy with lots of pictures. Just a brief overview of what the project is. It was partially funded by VDOT and FHWA to assist the town with carrying pedestrians and bicyclists across the forested floodplain for Buffalo Creek. There's a concrete bridge, a wood bridge, and trail connections there if you go out and look at it today. And they connect the Sarah Terry Trail to the Dogwood Trail, also to a new sidewalk that we built on West 3rd Street in front of the Centris Southside Community Hospital. So everything is connected now, which is exciting. It also accommodates the portage for canoers and kayakers that want to go down there to the Buffalo Creek Blueway, the Lee Woodruff Blueway, I believe it was dedicated as at the ribbon cutting. So that's an improved access for the Blueway, and it's near the parking lot for the Wilkes Lake boat launch if anyone wants to go out who's listening online and check it out. The project was dedicated to the public on October 18th, 2019, and it's been a welcome location from what I've seen for outdoor social distancing this year, getting a little exercise, and enjoying the natural environment of that forested floodplain, which is pretty cool. The copies have been distributed to the town, so I have your copy right here. After my presentation. I dropped it off a few weeks ago. We also provided copies to the VDOT Lynchburg District LAP manager as a thank you for their support, as well as the Commonwealth Regional Council. I dropped it off there last month so that we can all enjoy this success and proudly display these in our trophy cases, which nobody sees anymore because the offices are all closed. But when they're opened again, it'll be beautiful. I'm with A. Morton Thomas and Associates. This is our first engineering project with the town, so I wanted to take a minute and thank you for allowing us to be involved in the project, for the design and the construction inspection work out there. We're very proud of how it went, and unless you have questions, that is the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions? Let's try that again. Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions? It's a wonderful project. It's a wonderful addition. I only have one problem with it. When we have lots of rain, there's water that flows over the bridge.
Yes.
A couple of feet of it.
Yes. Yep. Try getting that approved by VDOT.
It's great. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for all that you all did. The town's very proud of that project.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next guest is Mr. Doug Stanley, who is the Prince Edward County Administrator. And this is his second trip here. Unfortunately, I was not in attendance the first night he came, but I have had the pleasure of breaking bread with Mr. Stanley on a couple of occasions now. And we're certainly glad to have him as our guest tonight.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, staff, I appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight and continue the tradition we started of reciprocating at each other's board meetings. First of all, congratulations on your project award. It is a beautiful trail project and an asset to the town and county, and my accommodations for the effort that y'all put forth to get that award. A few things I want to highlight tonight. First of all, coronavirus update. The Piedmont Health District, of course, has now opened it up, vaccinations for anyone age 12 or older as of May 14. We had a vaccination clinic yesterday at the Prince Edward County Middle School from 4 to 6. We had about 50, 60 people, a lot of them kids. Today we were out at the Pefia gym from 1 to 7, and I was told we probably hit 200, good significant number of them, middle and high school children. We have clinics scheduled every Wednesday at Pefia from 1 to 7 through the month of June. We're also hitting Fridays on May 28th, June 4th, and June 25th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So there are plenty of opportunities for folks that want to go out and get their shot to be able to do it. We're coordinating with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management to hold Johnson & Johnson vaccine mobile clinics. So Johnson & Johnson one-shot vaccine, May 22nd, 29th, 30th, and 31st at Meharon Fire and Rescue Department, the Verso Community Center, High Bridge Trail State Park, Pamplin Volunteer Fire Department, the Town of Farmville Kiosk. Thank you, Scott, for working with us on that on South Main. The Pisgah Baptist Church and the Prince Edward County Ag Building. They're all walk-in clinics, no appointments necessary. Again, one-shot vaccine, hoping to reach another segment of the community. That's why we spread it out to some of the desperate sections of the population.
And just to emphasize, the vaccine is free.
It's free.
It's free.
No cost.
No cost. Do they need any sort of identification or anything?
You need a parent with you if you're under the age of 18 for parental permission. Recently, you may have seen some articles talking about how Prince Edward County is below our neighbors in percentage of population fully vaccinated. As we noted in the article, there are several anomalies in the state's data reporting that we feel causes the data to undercount Prince Edward County and the town of Farmville. First, we have approximately 5,000 college students in the community, 4,000 at Longwood live here and 1,000 at Hamp Sydney. That accounts for about a little over 20% of our total population. When these students get vaccinated, they're asked for their home address. In the cases where we have made contact, the students are putting their home address, not their college address. My daughter, who's a first year at University of Virginia, did the exact same thing. This disproportionately affects Prince Edward. Secondly, with the population of inmates at the regional jail and detainees at the ICE facility, we know are not certain how they're counted in the vaccination numbers, yet they're counted in the population numbers. Thirdly, we have a total of 10 zip codes covering our county. A review of the state data, and we actually were able to access state data on where folks that are dots, basically, to be able to figure out where population that have been vaccinated. And a review of that data for Prince Edward seems to indicate that there may be zip codes that are not populated or not fully populating vaccination address data for Prince Edward County. These zip codes are 23958 Pamplin, 23934 Cullen, 23923 Charlotte Courthouse, 23947 Keysville, and 23942 Burkeville. They're getting counted in the adjoining counties. So when a Prince Edward County resident who lives in one of these zip codes is vaccinated, it appears their vaccine data is being assigned to the neighboring county in which the post office is located. In aggregate, these zip code account for 15 to 20% of our land mass and hundreds of vaccinations. For all these reasons, we feel confident that we're doing a better job in our vaccination efforts, and at the end of the day, we're confident that the data will confirm that. Board of Equalization, our Board of Equalization held its last advertised hearing on May 14. Additional dates and times will be scheduled if necessary and advertised. In total, we heard appeals from only about a dozen properties. The recommendation from the board is to go to a shorter reassessment cycle given the volatility of the real estate market lately. And I will be recommending the board consider moving from a 6-year to a 4-year cycle, which means we'll start it here in over 2.5 years. Prince Edward County Business Park Access Road, the county continues to work with its consultant Timmons in designing the access road there for the industrial park. That's between the Triborough facility and the VDOT residency headquarters. Sandy River Reservoir, the county's consultants continue to meet with Nottoway, Virginia General Services Administration, the towns of Crewe, Burkeville, and Blackstone to discuss the potential for collaboration on the project. We certainly welcome the opportunity to the town, talk about long-range water planning if there's any interest. Heartland Innovative Technology Park, the county and Timmons will be setting up a meeting in the next several weeks with hopefully with Scott and his staff to talk about access and utilities and engineering for the site. The goal is to get us to Tier 3 status, which really keeps us in play with the Virginia Economic Development Partnership as far as marketing the site. If you're Tier 1 or Tier 2, they're not going to even include you in the marketing material. So we're making a significant investment to up the engineering for the site to do that. Our budget for FY 21-22 has been adopted. The board ended up at a real estate rate of 47 cents per hundred. That's 4 cents over the equalized rate of 43. As part of the increase, we're able to set aside $608,708 in a capital improvement line, which is also going to tie in with our capital improvement plan for the first time for the county. In addition, the budget includes $185,000 for engineering and $200,000 for future debt service for the Sandy River project. Capital improvement plan, we've got about 14 items on the list. You saw a newspaper article talk about the elementary school, which is one of those applications. Our planning commission will be reviewing these projects and prioritizing them in the coming months. Visitor Center, as of May 1st, we've reopened the Visitor Center back to 7 days a week. 8:30 to 4:30 Monday to Saturday, and 12 to it's actually 12 to 4:30 on Sunday. That's a typo. With the High Bridge opening back up and COVID slowing down, we're excited to open that back up. Redistricting, we have again learned that there's a delay in the data. We're now looking at September and talking to the CRC. So we'll be keeping you informed as far as that process. I'll also note that I've talked to the registrar. We've got to do a little special provision to have the split districts because your elections will be in the fall and be able to tie those together. So we are talking to her to make sure that happens as well. We're not excited about that. I know you guys aren't either. We've all got to deal with it and live with it, and we'll do what we have to do. Courthouse site improvements. We've completed the seal and restripe of the courthouse parking lot, and we're looking to upgrade and replace the signage. You guys, again, set a good standard in town, and we're hoping to clean all that up as well. Solid waste, I want to thank, again, Scott and Robin and the staff for working with us. We had some issues earlier this spring with tonnage at the landfill. We had a previous permit tonnage limit of 100 tons per day, and there were a number of days where we were up against that tonnage limit and had to either turn trucks away or detour them and hold them back for a day. We've been able to temporarily get that permit increased to 175 tons, and we're working towards the permanent increase, very close to that. DQ has finished their review and are in the process of writing the new permit. That should give us sufficient buffer and gap to protect not only Longwood and Hampton-Sydney and the town and Buckingham and everybody else that utilizes the landfill. So we appreciate your help working us through that process. We thank the town council, town manager, and town staff for their support again in the vaccination efforts. We are presenting a unified front. And with that, we look forward to having our joint lunch meeting with the council on June 2nd at Pefia Gym, and look forward to meeting the mayor's challenge for volunteers on June 2nd to help staff the clinic. I brought some T-shirts to leave with me as far as hit me with your best shot. And I got the shot, so for those of you who are vaccinated, want to wear the T-shirt. This one's for Chief. Thank you, Chief. So with that, thank you very much for the opportunity to come here tonight, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. Stanley? Thank you for coming.
No problem. Thank
Look
you.
forward to seeing you on June the 2nd. Okay. Our next item of business is public hearings, and we have 4 of them tonight. So the first public hearing is on the real estate tax. Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir.
I'll call that public hearing to order. And is there anyone here that wishes to speak on the real estate tax? Anyone signed up, clerk?
No one signed up.
Anyone here wishing to speak on the proposed real estate tax rate? Going once, going twice, gone. We'll close that public hearing. The next public hearing is on the 21-22 town budget. We will open that public hearing. We do have some folks by phone, I believe, that wish to speak on the town budget, correct?
Yes, sir. If I've done this correctly, we should have everybody on here. Our first speaker is going to be Miss Electra Balatas.
Hello, I'm here.
Go ahead.
Yes, can you tell us where you're from?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hello, my name is Electra, and I'm from Virginia. I currently live in D.C. I'm here today to speak about the Farmville town budget and urge Farmville to divest from and shut its contract with ICE and permanently shut down ICE Farmville. A budget is a promise for the future, a plan and a structure that, on the community level, organizes how people live and interact with each other. Currently, the town of Farmville receives money from ICE to host Immigration Centers of America, the prison company that cages migrant people for profit. It is the biggest detention center in the Mid-Atlantic region. People in my direct community have been imprisoned there. I visited the detention center in 2018 to visit a teenager who had been imprisoned from the age of 16. I have friends who are currently detained at ICE Farmville who have lived through the worst outbreak of COVID in a detention center in the U.S. and are still suffering inside. The town of Farmville and the whole state of Virginia as the first colony has a history of abuse of indigenous and black people that still manifests today in the detention center. There is even documentation of a lynching in Farmville dating back to 1888. The Farmville Town Council has an opportunity right now, with the promises made in the budget, to divest from harmful, deadly, and abusive systems of detention that plagues the city and ripples harm across the region. I'm speaking today to ask the town of Farmville to end its IGSA and permanently shut down this giant cage, and instead invest in education, health, and safety for all community members. Right now, my friend is detained at ICA Farmville. I talk to him several times a week, and each time I talk to him, he talks about the pain and suffering he faces daily. The pain of being away from his 6-year-old son, the pain of the hernia in his stomach, which gets worse and worse daily, immobilizing him, the depression and trauma he faces, the abuse of being confined in solitary cells, and the other daily tortures. ICE detention undermines rather than protects public safety. Community-based alternatives to detention are cheaper, effective, and humane. ICE detention in Virginia largely corresponds to discriminatory interior enforcement operations. These operations spread harm. More immigration detention beds mean more families separated, lifelong trauma inflicted on individuals, and more communities torn apart. People should have the right to live in safety of their homes and communities while navigating their court proceedings. Evidence-based studies consistently show that 90% of participants in community-based programs comply with obligations imposed by courts or agencies. Again, I urge Farmville to end its contract and permanently shut down.
Thank you, ma'am.
I would remind our guests that we have a 3-minute time limit, and the clerk is keeping time. Thank you very much. Next guest.
The next is a statement by Mary Ann Campbell, and that's going to be read on her behalf by Dina Cruz.
Hi, I'm reading for Mary Ann Campbell. Good evening, Town Council members, and thank you for hearing my letter. My name is Mary Ann Campbell, and I am a Farmville resident. I am writing to you because I oppose the presence of ICA Farmville in our community, and I urge you to immediately end the town's contract with ICE and cease profiting from ICA Farmville's inhumane detention practices. People from our own area have been detained at the ICA facility, separating them from their loved ones and communities, and we need to stop being complicit in this abusive and racist system. We must find alternative, ethical sources of revenue for this town. Thank you for your time. Sincerely, Mary Ann Campbell.
Thank you, ma'am.
Our next speaker is Maria Mayorkin, and she's going to have the assistance of an interpreter.
¿Aló?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Aló, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Mayorkin. Aló, buenas tardes. Mi nombre es María Mayorkin. Vivo en Alexandria, Virginia. Estoy comentando sobre el presupuesto de Farmville porque en la encarcelación mi esposo estuvo detenido alrededor de 15 meses en la detención de Farmville. Y se me hace muy inhumano y muy injusto que estén en esas cárceles, esas detenciones, el sufrimiento y el abuso que cometieron con mi esposo. Eso fue muy, muy duro. La separación de familias no es justo. Mi familia pues ha sido muy afectada por la separación de mi esposo, y eso debería de cerrarse en la comunidad donde vivimos, pues deberían de cerrarse. Yo no estoy de acuerdo, ni nadie está de acuerdo que esa detención deberían de existir. Eso deberían de cerrarlo.
Is Payalo there to translate? Payola, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. I'm ready to interpret.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Maria Mallorquin, and I live in Alexandria, Virginia. I am commenting on the farm bill budget because I know that incarceration in any prisons, any jails are inhumane and unjust, and no one should be inside them. No one should be profiting off suffering and abuse. My family has been greatly affected by my husband's detention in Farmville. It has been hurtful to see how he was treated and how our family has been affected by our separation from my husband. I demand that the Council of Farmville immediately end their contract with ICE. That place should be closed down, and it's super important that our community doesn't have this place here. So please, I demand that ICA Farmville shuts down because our communities don't deserve it. And yes, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next guest, clerk.
Miss Angelina Marquez, and she will have the assistance of the interpreter. Angelina? Angelina, are you on the line? Hello? Angelina, are you on the line? I'm not sure if she's on the line or not. Angelina? Hello?
And I don't believe she's there. Do we have another guest?
Yes, we do. We'll move on to a gentleman, Mr. Elder. Elder, are you on the line?
Yes. Hola, mi nombre es Elder Cruz. Fui detenido por 15 meses en la detención de Farmville y quería comentar un poco acerca del abuso que ellos hacen contra nosotros los hispanos, casi no solo contra los hispanos, contra los morenos también. Y yo estuve detenido ahí 15 meses, como les digo, y tuve una fractura en mi pie por una equivocación de ellos que metieron a un dormitorio con otro juntos. Un pandillero me quebró mi pie. Yo pedí ayuda para mi terapia de mi pie. Ellos no me quisieron brindar mi terapia. Ahora yo estoy inválido, o sea, no puedo caminar bien, quedé mal. También quiero comentar un poco de cuando el COVID, que ellos lo tienen a nosotros como que somos animales, solo para ellos ganar dinero, porque estaban las personas que no podían levantarse, casi muriéndose, y ellos no
Mr. Elder?
Yes. Ellos no pusieron la separación como tenían que separarlos a todos. No les importó verlos que estábamos durmiendo cara con cara, hasta que les iba a venir una inspección a ellos. Ahí sí los separaron, importándole más el dinero, importándole más la inspección que ellos iban a tener que la vida de nosotros. También está promoviendo mucho racismo ahí. Yo estuve en enfermería y hubo unos oficiales que no me dejaban usar el teléfono por ser de hispano. Yo tengo pruebas de todo eso, también tengo fotos como los tenían durmiendo cara con cara y nunca hubo la distancia social. La distancia social fue hasta que ellos iban a tener inspección, entonces empezaron a distanciar a las personas, no importándoles cuando las personas estaban enfermas, sino cuando ellos iban a tener infección. Los tienen como animales para ganar dinero ellos. Otra cosa, la comida tampoco, a veces salen cosas en la comida, a veces comida que ya está mala, les dan como no importándoles. la vida humana, no es inhumano lo que hacen ahí y eso es todo.
Hello, my name is Elder. I was detained in Farmo for 15 months, and I wanted to comment against the abuse on Black and Brown communities that takes place there. I was in there for a mistake, and I had an injury in my foot, and I asked for help and therapy, and they completely denied it.
Payola, that was the end of his time. I'm going to see if is Angelina on the line? Angelina? Is Angelina? Hello?
No, tocando ahí, tocando las cosas del niño.
Go ahead, Angelina.
Angelia, puede comenzar si quieres.
Is there a Heidi on the line?
Okay, clerk, I don't believe we have anybody else. Do you have anybody else signed up to speak?
Dina Cruz, is she still on the line?
Hi, yes, I'm here. I think that Angelina is just about to start. She was having some technical difficulties. Hola?
Okay, Angelina?
¿Aló?
Go ahead, Angelina.
¿No me escuchan? Angelina, ¿me escucha? Hola?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Hola, ¿sí puedo escuchar? Sorry. Mi nombre es Angelina Vázquez. Estoy hablando de Colchers en Virginia. El día de hoy me pronuncio.
Excuse me, sir. Angelia's talking. Could she give her testimony?
Yeah, we are waiting.
Yeah, we about used up our time here.
Okay, Angelia, ¿le puede dar?
Payola?
Yes.
I don't think we are not hearing Angelina. We need to move forward.
Me pronuncio hoy porque yo sé el terrible trauma que causan las detenciones de inmigración. Pido el consejo de Farmville termine el convenio con ICE y cierre definitivamente ICA Farmville. Gente de mi comunidad y mi familia ha sido gravemente afectada. Farmville ejerce violencia económica, alimenticia, emocional y de índole sexual. Ha causado daños irreparables a sus víctimas y a sus familias en la comunidad. La ciudad tiene que cerrar permanentemente este lugar, un infierno en la tierra en el que nadie merece vivir. En su lugar, invertir en fondos para la comunidad, en educación.
Payola, are you there?
Médicos, mejoras en las viviendas.
You have 40 seconds.
Atención médica, es inhumano. Como buenos cristianos, no nos podemos beneficiar del sufrimiento de seres humanos, igual que todos aquí. Estos son los valores que nos representan, y si así fueran, ustedes, sus familiares, podrían ser capaces de ir a dormir cada noche sabiendo que sus familias están sufriendo. Creo que después de cualquier cosa todos tenemos derechos y merecemos que se nos respeten. Gracias.
Hi, my name is Angelita.
All right, our last speaker is Dina Cruz. Dina, are you on the line?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Dear members of the Farmville Town Council, my name is Dina, and I'm an organizer with Free Them All Virginia, an abolitionist coalition of community groups committed to an end to immigration detention and the system of incarceration in Virginia. We submit this statement in reference to the town's 2021-2022 budget to inform you that now is the time to end the contract with ICE and the company, Immigration Centers of America, or ICA, to detain people in your town. We've also submitted a written statement that goes into more detail, and I want to take a moment to emphasize how you and your colleagues could accomplish something significant by voting to end this contract with ICE and ICA and take a stance against the system of immigration detention by refusing to fund your town budget with profits obtained at the expense of basic civil and human rights. First, ending the contract is vital to safeguard residents from dangerous ICE operations. ICA, the company, has a dark history of neglectful practices and of aggressively pursuing new contracts in new regions. Since ICA began detaining people for ICE in 2010, the facility in Farmville has been the target of lawsuits, ongoing investigations, and the site of the worst COVID-19 outbreak in any ICE facility during the pandemic. To safeguard against federal and private actors from continuing to infringe on Farmville's responsibility to protect its residents, this council should end the contract. Second, ending the contract is important to stem ongoing abuses by federal actors against Virginia residents. ICE and its contractors are notorious for abuses and inhumane conditions and for a lack of accountability. The detention system delivers senseless harm and death to countless immigrants, including those in your facility, including those you heard from tonight. The number of people who have died in ICE custody in 2020 is more than double the prior year. Sexual assault, violent abuse, medical neglect, unsanitary conditions, and lockdowns are commonplace in ICE jails. Finally, I want to leave you with the recollections of the testimonies you've heard today from people who were imprisoned at Farmville. We were not able to hear all of what they had to say due to technical difficulties and limitations, frankly, from interpretation. But I urge you to educate yourselves on what they and everyone who has been affected by Farmville faces every single day. And ask yourself if that is the kind of profit that you would like to use to fund your town. If you have any questions at all or would like additional information, I encourage you to reach out to the Free Them All VA Coalition at freethemallva@protonmail.com. Thank you for your time.
I'd like to thank all of our speakers who phoned in tonight. Clerk, I believe that's all that had signed up to speak via phone. Do we have anybody in person that wishes to speak on the 21-22 budget? If not, I will close that public hearing. The next public hearing is on the Westview Cemetery rates. Do we have anyone who signed up to that wishes to speak? Do we have anyone in person that wishes to speak on the Westview Cemetery rates? If not, I will close that public hearing. The next one is on, it says party bikes, and I wish we called that tour bikes, because I had a conversation today with a local historian who referred to them as tour bikes because he would love to see them used to give local tours as well. So I think they can be multiple use bikes. And so I will open that public hearing. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on the bike ordinance? Clerk, do we have anyone sign up? Okay, if not, I will close that public hearing, and that brings to an end our public hearings. Item 8 is the public comment period. Do we have anyone signed up to speak during the public comment period?
We have two. The first is Miss Patsy Watson.
Welcome, Ms. Watson.
Thank you. I appreciate, I won't stand quite that close. I appreciate the chance to talk to you tonight. I come to you representing Farmville Cares. We've been working together, a group of volunteers in the community, My main volunteers are Lonnie Calhoun, Joanne Weidinger, and Noel Shear. We created a helpline to help people, citizens in the area, not just Prince Edward and Farmville, but we do help outlying areas also. And we now have about 390 people that we've been able to help over the last 15 months. 41 of those people got their groceries delivered. They had medications picked up for them. We had 20 people that received clothing and furniture needs. We've scheduled 124 appointments, vaccine appointments for people that have called that haven't had access to the internet. We've done 139 referrals to agencies for pandemic support from agencies that have additional funding that have come down through the CARES Act. We helped with the ice storm back in February. We had 64 volunteers basically on foot doing 330 hours with the meal distribution that the Red Cross in the county set up. We have now volunteered at 7 vaccine clinics. Several of our volunteers are here tonight. Raise your hand. And we have about 732 volunteer hours there with about 141 volunteers that have, run through those clinics. A lot of those are college students, so you know where they are now. They've gone home. And I'm here tonight because you are answering a call for help that we came up with an idea that would be fun and innovative. We don't have a Talladega in Farmville. The Farmville Herald is talking about bungee jumping off of High Bridge Trail. I'm not sure how many people would take a chance to do that. So what we've come up with is your mayor has challenged the Board of Supervisors for a vaccine challenge. We're going to set up teams of 4 members each. You guys will have, and ladies too, you'll have recruitment cards and go out and basically talk people into getting the shot and kind of helping them make that decision. We look forward to your visit out to the PEFIA building on the 2nd of June. It's also going to be our Volunteer Appreciation Day, and you'll get a chance to say thank you to the volunteers that are able to be there. So I'm just most appreciative, and I want to say that to both you and Doug, if you'll take that back to the Board of Supervisors. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thanks for all your efforts and for all that you have done on behalf of Farmville Cares and getting us vaccinated.
Our second speaker is Mary Evelyn Upshaw, excuse me.
Okay, everybody does it. I'm gonna use I've got a torn tendon in my ankle. I first heard of Farmville when my brother was pastor at Heritage Baptist in the early 2000s. And somehow I wound up here, and I like a lot of the aspects here, but there are a few things I'd like to bring to attention, your attention. Among them, I'm going to take you back to 1998 and 1999 when I believe it's E.M. Venable addition was added to the town. The streets of South Bridge and South Virginia Street, which I now live on. I bought a home there about 3.5 years ago, and I am finding that the zoning is a little different in 1998 and in 1999. For instance, I'm paying for 2 city lots that are the same road frontage as the lot next to me, owned by Terry Atkins Wilson, whose dad willed it to her, Landon Atkins, in 1999. Mine was given to a lady, Janelle Watson, in 1998. And I don't quite understand why I'm paying on 2 city lots and our town lawyer is paying on 1, and it was uncut when I arrived. It was over my head in grass. And now we're getting letters stating that we are going to be fined $100 if our grass is 10 inches high, and that was never true prior to Philip Moore. So I'm thankful that he's aboard, but I'm also puzzled about the lack of fines in the unkempt lots in that area. And I'm seeing to it, and have been really a stickler that the 3 that I can see that are being cut. And I've been stepping on toes maybe, because that should have been addressed back further. And then another puzzle that I'm having is the road frontage. The lot I own in South Virginia Street is 10 feet short. And I don't understand when the zoning laws changed. I've talked to Scott Davis about it, and I'm still puzzled. So these are puzzles that I believe we can work out and can be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I think if you work with town administration, you can probably work through those. Have another speaker? Anyone else who did not sign up for a public comment section who would like to speak? Ms. Cox?
No, sir.
Okay, we'll bring the public comment section to a close. Item 11, item, where are we? 9. Glasses make a difference. Consent agenda. Anyone wish to pull anything out of the consent agenda? If not, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item 10, treasurer's report.
The treasurer's on vacation, so I'll try to fill in the best I can, Mayor and members of council. You have the treasurer's report before you. If you have any questions, I will try to answer them. However, I can say that our revenues and expenditures are where they should be at this time of the year.
Any questions?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item 11, discussion of the Confederate monument. Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir, Mayor. Almost a year ago, 11 months ago, it was a discussion by council based on the some of the things that have been occurring around the state about taking down part of the statue before it was torn down. Since that time, obviously, there has been language change to the state code. We've asked the Attorney General for an opinion. That has not been answered. However, we are talking about, and it has been in other meetings discussed, that the town would move what is remaining on High Street and the Soldier to the Confederate Cemetery, which is town property, and reassemble and put that monument there potentially. It hasn't been totally decided that yet. I just need some guidance on moving forward of how we want to go. If you want me to bring back some cost figures and those types of things for you, and then we can, if that's what you all would like to do, is at that location.
I think based on prior discussions, probably the next step is to have the town surveyor look at a location within the Confederate Cemetery for placement and determine cost as to what it would cost to relocate it there. Is that a fair assessment of where we think we are? So I tell you what, do you need a motion to do that?
It would be helpful.
Yeah, if have a motion to have the town surveyor look at the location and assess cost and movability.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, I think you have your clear marching orders, Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir.
Item 12, request adoption of ordinance number 202, cemetery rates. Mr. Davis?
Yes, this is a ordinance change, and you have that before you of sections 810 and 88, and those fees have been recommended.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to adopt ordinance number 202.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dwyer? Yes. Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure to adopt ordinance number 202 has passed.
Thank you, sir. Item 13, request adoption of ordinance 203, party bikes. Mr. Davis?
Mayor, members of council, we've discussed this prior as well. We had individual who's interested in beginning a business of this type. There are some other places in Virginia. The ordinance you have before you, we have an existing chapter for taxi cabs is what it was labeled. Other localities list this as vehicles for hire as a chapter title. And one in particular that had a really good ordinance was the city of Roanoke. So I'm suggesting that it's changed. And Mr. Elder has reviewed this, by the way. It wasn't just me. Vehicles for hire, we changed Article 1 so that we can keep our regulations on taxi cabs. I'm not saying that that doesn't need to be tweaked in the future, because it does have some things that probably need to be changed. But for this purpose, we changed and added Article 2, which is party bikes. It does define it. It also goes into rather lengthy rules and regulations and how they have to apply. And it's not just a business that can be anywhere in town. There's information about liability insurance and their bonding. And so I would recommend that this be passed as well.
I would also share with council, with his permission, it was Jimmy Hurt that I spoke to, I think it was on Monday actually at the Lions Club. And he was pretty excited about this because he has a program already put together of the warehouses downtown, mostly in the Greenfront area, all the warehouses. And he has spoken with the proprietor of this, and he's very interested in perhaps doing tours, which I think would be really neat for patrons that come to town to do the bike and then do a tour of areas and get the history on it. So I think it's a really positive thing. Any discussion? Do I hear a motion?
I move that we adopt the ordinance for the party bike or tour bike, or however you'd like to word it.
Second.
Motion and second. Any other discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the request to adopt ordinance number 203, sorry. Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
I'm in trouble now.
It's now a unanimous vote.
On that unanimous vote, the request to adopt ordinance number 203 has passed.
Okay, where are we? Number 15. No, I'm sorry, number 14. Request adoption of ordinance number 204, real estate tax. Mr. Davis?
Mayor, this ordinance is in order to increase the town's real estate property tax from 12 cents to 13 cents, which is, after the reassessment, would be a 2.5 actual, from the equalized rate, a 2.5 cent tax increase.
Discussion? Motion.
Make a motion, we adopt ordinance number 204.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
No.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
On a vote of 5-1, the request to pass ordinance number 204 has passed.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Item 15, Request adoption of the 2018 Parks and Recreations Need Plan. Mr. Davis or Mr. Vincent, which one is speaking to that? Mr. Davis, you are.
We talked about this at the work session earlier in the month. You've also had a lot of public input in the past. We're doing a lot of these already. They're already in the pipeline in the capital improvement program. And so it has just not been formally adopted prior to now.
The Recreation Master Plan is guidance. It's not right. So I move that we adopt the 2018 Farmville Parks and Rec Needs Master Plan. Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the measure to adopt the 2018 Farmville Parks and Recreation Needs Master Plan has passed.
Thank you, sir. Item 16, request authorization for the town manager to sign the Centos contract. Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir. It was definitely time for us to put out a bid for uniforms and equipment that we use for the town. It hadn't been done in quite some time. Centos is our current provider. However, they had to obviously respond to a request for a proposal just like any other company, and they did. And I'm happy to say that everyone sharpened their pencils, and we are having better rates than we currently have. And they were the best offer.
They are also our current vendor, right?
Correct.
Do I hear a motion?
I make a motion to authorize the town manager to sign the Centos contract for uniforms.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the request to authorize the town manager to sign the Centos contract for uniforms has passed.
Item 17, request authorization for the town manager to sign the Delta Airport Consultants contract. Mr. Davis?
Yes, sir. We also had to put out the bid. It was time, our contract time had ended with Delta, who we currently have a contract with for airport consulting for our airport. We had 4 bids, interviewed 3, I believe it was, and it was between Delta and another company. However, the way that they were ranked in that process, the scale that was provided in the bid process, Delta came out on top, and so we're looking to go into another contract with them.
Any questions? If not, do I hear a motion for approval?
I move that we authorize the town manager to sign the Delta Airport Consultants, Inc. contract for airport engineering consulting.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the request to authorize the town manager to sign the Delta Airport Consultants Incorporated contract for airport engineering consulting has passed.
Thank you, sir. Next item, request authorization for the town manager to sign the Colony construction contract. Mr. Davis?
Mayor, we put out a bid this year, as we do, for our paving projects, and Colony Construction, one is the successful bidder. The paving will be, as in the capital improvement program, on West 3rd Street from Buffalo Creek Bridge to Oak Street, and then on West 3rd to East 3rd from Oak Street to Bridge Street, and we'll be paving a portion of South Main Street from Reed Street to Millwood Road. And that's what this package is for. But just another item that we are doing project-wise, mostly in-house, is if you've noticed over the last several years where the archway is, we've been trying to fix the bricks, but they continue to begin to come up, and it's becoming a traffic issue. And so we're going to move forward as we have at other crossings, and we're going to use Stampcrete. So those will be coming up in the next month or so, and it'll look like brick, but it's not going to be brick. It's going to be like the walkways that we have elsewhere on Main Street that's stampcrete,
We're doing those in-house.
except for the stamping of it, but yes. But the paving, for what I listed before, the stampcrete, that bid process, obviously it didn't help us when the fuel issue happened the 3 days before the bids were due. So I'm guessing that the bids were a little higher than they probably would have been, but it still came in at $377,750 for what's going to be paved.
Do I hear a motion to approve that contract?
I make a motion we authorize the town manager to sign the Colony construction contract for paving.
Second.
Motion and second. Any additional discussion? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Dwyer?
Yes.
Mr. Parrott?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Mr. Vincent?
Yes.
Mrs. Amos?
Yes.
On a unanimous vote, the request to authorize the town manager to sign the Colony construction contract for paving has passed.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davis, staff reports.
Yes, sir. I have a few items today, if you might have already seen it in the newspaper, but High Bridge opened back up as of today, and so we'll be able to, tourists will be able to use that once again. And I spoke with Daniel Jordan today, and he wanted to share with the citizens to pass on his thank you from their office on the patience while they had this project done that needed to be for the safety of everyone. We talked about facilities at our work session and coming up with protocols. I'm going to suggest that we push this back to probably, we'll open up our facilities for rental on July 1st, because I believe by then we won't probably have to put out our own protocols, because a lot of things will be, I'm not going to say back to normal, but will be a lot more open, and we won't have to worry about those things. And so that's my information for you on the facilities at this point. I was happy to learn today, as you know, previously reported that we had 2 smart scale projects in the pipeline that did not get funded: the Green Tea at Griffin Boulevard in Maine and the Roundabout project. However, I was advised today by our CTB board member, Mr. Bert Dodson, that as the original was not funded, however, there were extra funds available, and he was able to get them up to be used here in Farmville for the Green Tea at Griffin and Maine. And so that smart scale project will now be funded. If it is approved by vote on June the 23rd, they had a meeting today to add that to the project list. And so this afternoon I learned that. And so it'll be down the road. Don't get me wrong. It's 5 years out or more, but the money will be allocated for that project. So I do want to say, he has gone to bat for us on a few other projects, and I want to thank him publicly for his help in with Farmville on the Commonwealth Transportation Board. I spoke with Mr. Dwyer and the mayor, and it was already to my attention, but the flagpoles out front had been leaning prior to my time here, that had been looked at in the past. However, some information was passed on to me about a company that could maybe do it cheaper than previously. And so if you notice when you came in today, they are fixed, they are straight, and so that has been completed. Next week, we will begin putting up the veteran banners and the U.S. flags along Main Street. I don't have anything else, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Chief?
Yes, sir.
You have anything?
Several things. You had asked that I update you on the body-worn camera policy?
Yes. You
still want me, I am prepared to do so?
Sure.
Okay. Mayor, members of council, town manager, the mayor asked that at the work session that I update y'all on our body-worn camera policy. I'll just take you back a few years. Back in 2010, I believe, is when we first started experimenting with body-worn cameras. We were one of the first agencies in the state to do so. We were experimenting with them through VML. They were funding us with the cameras to try them out, which ultimately led to 2014 when we received a grant that allowed us to purchase our own very good quality cameras with a docking station that we're still using today. And once we purchased this, that was about time that we were doing the accreditation, which accreditation standards require that we have a sound policy that they approve of and meets their standards as far as wearing and the usage of body-worn cameras. While I don't think that you want me to sit here and read the whole policy page by page, I'll just hit the highlights of it. I think the biggest concern is storage, when we use them, when we don't use them. And storage, we keep, if it's evidentiary purpose, it will be retained up to 3 years unless the case is disposed of prior to, and then we will erase it. Non-evidentiary evidence, not footage, is kept for 90 days, and then it's automatically erased. The officers are required to check out a body camera each day when they come on duty and to turn it in at the end of their shift. If they encounter anything that they think may be challenged or a complaint may come about, they're required to let their supervisor know. And when they download it, they find that video and they mark it and save it as such. I must say that the body-worn cameras can be a double-edged sword. They can hurt officers, but they can also protect them. We've seen both. And I can assure you the ones that it has hurt, we didn't need them with us any longer anyway. So supervisors are required on a routine basis to view these body cameras periodically, just to make sure that the officers are acting as they should in the public. When they're making vehicle stops, they're addressing people in a professional manner, that they're doing what is required by our policy to do with the body-worn cameras. So, is there any other questions or concerns that you may? I know doing one thing. Yes, sir. Thank you. Mayor called me several weeks ago. I'd actually seen it the night before on TV where Virginia Beach, there was the chief down there had a concern on when to activate and when not to activate. Our current policy, when I went back and reviewed it after talking to the mayor, we're actually supposed to activate it once we get to the scene. And this was a concern that the Virginia Beach Police Department had, that probably wasn't long enough. It should be activated quicker. So in going back and really looking at it and reviewing the policy, I totally agreed. And we've recently gone back and changed ours to the body camera shall be activated as soon as they are assigned a call for service. We're not killing any more trees. It's all video footage. It may have to run 2 or 3 more minutes before they get to the scene. But it really, when you get to a scene and there's 10 people fighting and your heart is pumping, the adrenaline's flowing, you have a tendency to forget to turn that thing on. So right now we're pushing the officers to make sure that they get in the habit of doing so as soon as they receive a call for service.
For the sake of council, that's a discussion that Chief and I had. That's what's been on the national news, is when these cameras are activated. And I clearly agree that if they activate them when they start the call, then there's, and I understand if you wait till you get to the call and you get there and there's something happening, you forget to push the button to activate the camera, then did you forget? Was it done intentional? There's that whole discussion there to be had. So I do like the fact you've changed the policy.
Yes, sir.
Can I add one thing, Mayor? I just want to make a comment, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chief. The good part about some departments, when they went to body-worn cameras, they did away with cameras in the vehicle that view from the front windshield. Farmville Police Department did not. They continue to have in-car cameras and body-worn cameras. So even though they could arrive on scene and then end up in the house of someone, let's say, as long as they were near that vehicle and in front of the vehicle, you would still have the camera footage from inside, from where it's pointing from the vehicle, which is a positive.
Yes.
And also the other part is, for any of those cameras, from the time you cut it on, it actually is recording, even though it's off, for about 30 seconds prior to you cutting it on. So it does catch up and record to that point.
True.
But you still got to cut it on.
Right, exactly. So, any other questions with body-worn cameras? Have several other things. I don't want to take up much of your time, but I feel these are very important. Next month, June the 6th, we start our second reaccreditation assessment. Auditors will be in. It's hard to believe that now we're finishing up 8 years of being an accredited agency. So the auditors will be here coming in on Sunday the 6th, and they'll be here the 7th, 8th, and 9th doing our reaccreditation process. So we've been really busy gearing up, making sure we got our I's dotted, our T's crossed, and that we make it through and retain our accreditation, which I think Dale's done a fabulous job in what I've reviewed, and I don't see that we're going to have any problem whatsoever. About 3 days.
About 3 days.
3 days, yes, sir. I'm also wanted to report to you, council, that just give you an update on the recent shootings on Virginia Street. Just a little while ago, we were able to apprehend a second suspect in this case. The first suspect is still at large, but we were able to make an arrest on a second individual in Petersburg just a little while ago, and we were able to confiscate another firearm at the time. So he's now being detained in Petersburg before he'll be transported back here. The detectives have been working very hard, very vigorously on this case, collecting a lot of forensic evidence. I don't know how they're keeping up with it, but they are. They're doing a fantastic job, and hopefully we'll be making another arrest here pretty soon. So it's a lot to put together. I know a lot of people don't understand, especially when the community doesn't come forward and help. Witnesses don't come forward and cooperate with us. It makes our life difficult, but I have very determined detectives, and they're really taking it personal now, and they want to put a stop to this as much as anybody. So I want to commend them for an extraordinary job that they're doing in working this case. Also today, just to touch on our communication center. Big day today. Jackie Gilbert, our communications director, has implemented EMD, Emergency Medical Dispatch. For those of you not familiar with that, they've been training for the last several months in implementing this. It's where they will actually give instructions to heart attack calls when they come in, how to do CPR. Any kind of medical case that comes in, it will, when they key the call in to the CAD system, another screen will pop up, and it will help them, give them directions, and they will start helping the person, whether it's choking, heart attack, stroke, what have you. They'll start guiding them until rescue gets there. This morning at right before lunch, I talked to Jackie. They're scared to death. This is something entirely new. It's a great liability for them, but we know they can do it, and they will do it well. They just, you're going to make mistakes. We all know that. But this morning, first thing, they had a call of a child choking on a piece of glass. A clock had fallen off a wall. A piece of glass been left in the floor. Child had it and was choking. The mother was able to get it out. Shortly thereafter, they had another call of a patient that was laying in a bed, unconscious, thought they'd had a stroke or seizure. Immediately tried to tell the husband to get her out of the bed onto the floor to start CPR, check for compressions. He was unable to do so. Unfortunately, that patient didn't make it. So that was a real deflator for them, starting out on their first day. But things like that are going to happen. I'm sure they're going to save a lot of lives coming up. That we were one of 35 agencies in the state that had not gone to this, so now we're removed from that. And again, I cannot express my gratitude to our dispatchers and to Jackie for the job that they have done in getting this implemented. They've done a fantastic job. That's it. That's it.
Is that it? Thank you, Chief, for all the information. Mr. Atkins?
No, everything's normal with us. We had a big cleanup campaign, did almost 39 tons. It was a good 2 days. Check it out. And between cleaning town and of course, if y'all rode yesterday, there was plenty of it, but it's all up to date. So town's looking good.
Thank you, sir. I noticed they've also been painting lines.
Yep, we're getting close to being done with that.
Good. Thank you very much. Staff-wise, anything else? If not, we'll go around the council chambers. Mr. Cole? Mr. Vincent?
We had a Recreation Committee meeting on Wednesday, May 12th, discussed summer camps and a collaboration with PEFIA in the building out there that they've been using and them facilitating summer camps out of it. YMCA, yeah, sorry. Misspoke. And also discussed July 4th and potential plans for what could happen. You know, it's kind of hard with all the balls up in the air, not sure what the gathering size is going to be, but there's a couple of options available, and we'll continue to review those and kind of see what best way forward to help celebrate.
I can give an update if you want me to talk about that.
Sure.
One of the ideas was that we could try to have fireworks this year, not at the airport. It would be at a different location. One of the ideas that came up was, and I'm not going to say the name of the road correctly, Granite Falls Boulevard, which is, if you know where that is, on the backside of the manor. And I talked with Mr. Stanley, county administrator, in doing a joint, since that is in the county. And he is going to take it to the board in June. I just need to send him a request. He's also already talked to Scott Frederick, because that road is maintained and operated by VDOT, about closing the road, and we would shoot the fireworks off from there. And then we would not be gathering people. They would be able to view those by going to different parking lots in the area, the school systems right nearby, all those types of things. So it would not be the same festivity. However, we would be able to join the county, work together, offer fireworks. It's budgeted in this year's budget and next year's budget. So that is a potential, but not a guarantee at this point. Still have to work that out with VDOT, the county, and find a company, which I've reached out, but it hasn't responded.
Is this by Lowe's? Lowe's? Yes. Okay.
Mr. Davis mentioned perhaps emceeing it, the event as well on the virtual component.
No.
With that, Mr. Vincent, we'll move to Mr. Parrott.
The Infrastructure Committee had a meeting, and we were discussing the possibility of possibly contacting the merchants and having a public hearing in regards to North Street and the feasibility of making it into a one-way street. We're still, assuming, contacting merchants as well as gathering information from VDOT and going to have a public hearing and see what the pleasure is.
Yeah, the plan is to reach out to merchants, have the public hearing in June for the North Street portion. We want to look at the other suggestion that was made of someone had mentioned 2nd Street from Main to 3rd. I do not feel comfortable without doing some type of traffic study in that, but we feel comfortable in moving forward with a public hearing for North Street.
You're going to advertise for a public hearing at the June meeting? Anything else, Mr. Barrett?
That's it.
Thank you. Mr. Dwyer?
I'd just like to thank a Farmville resident and former U.S. military person that came up with the idea that it's time to get those flagpoles straightened. He even came up with a solution. And as far as a company to contact, I believe we end up going with that company. Just appreciate the citizen input on that and Mr. Davidson for following through on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dwyer. Mr. Reed?
Yes, I just have a question. Where do we stand for our vacant positions, town workers and police department and others?
Police department, we have one in the, there was 5. We have 1 in the academy, 2 have been offered conditional offers that will need to go through the academy, and then there's 2 that are still vacant, and we're taking applications on a rolling basis. Correct, Chief? As far as the only other ones I know of that are vacant, and I'm guessing you're referring to the ones this coming budget year: finance director, community development director, and the recreation director. Finance director position is out. Finalizing some information for our HR folks to on the recreation director. That should go out this week, and then we'll work on putting out the third position, which is the community development one. And the recreation technician, since Nady Perez is leaving, that one is also out and listed.
Yeah, I've got the street, couple of
We have one that just came up recently that has turned in their resignation. So we'll be looking for those as well.
And you're also advertising for a mechanic?
Yeah, so we have, yes, because we had an employee that is not returning in the buildings and grounds crew. And then we also have another position coming open. It's not open currently in the mechanic shop. Someone will be retiring.
Thank you.
Ms. Amos, I almost said Overton. Mrs. Overton Amos.
Yes, I would like to recognize National EMS Week. That is this week. And I know that they are running an Adopt a Prince Edward County First Responder. So if any of you have done that or not done that, you need to do that. Adopt a first responder and take your gifts over to the rescue squad building and thank them for all the hard work they do. They leave their families to protect and take care of us. So anyway, thank you all for what you do on the rescue squad.
And if you look at their profiles, they all like candy,
They
preferably
do.
chocolate.
They like
gift
Mercs,
certificates,
they like
Mercs,
Millers.
and Cookout.
And Cookout, that's exactly right. So thank you, Rescue Squad.
Mr. Davis, anything else? Clerk? Anyone else have anything else? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.